Hello everyone and welcome back to Where in the World here on Go Westeros. In this episode, just like we did last time, we will be looking at three minor houses of Westeros, what they've been up to, where in the world they are, and how they pertain to the overall story as it's being told. The last episode we looked at houses Hornwood, Morrigan and Redfort. This week we'll be looking at three more. We will be looking at House Blackwood of the Riverlands, House Fossoway of Cider Hall, of the Reach, and House Harlaw of the Iron Islands. At this point, I should mention that this does contain spoilers for all five novels of A Song of Ice and Fire, so if you're not up to date, I would not continue on much further. I'm Jack, your host, and let's dive right in. The Blackwoods of Raventry Hall are an old house in the Riverlands. They are one of the main families sworn to the Tullys. Raventry Hall, their lordly castle, is situated inside the Blackwood Vale. The Blackwood Vale is a broad and fertile land north of the Red Fork of the Trident. The castle itself is located north of River Run, southwest of Old Stones, and west of Fairmarket. Their sigil is a flock of ravens on a red field surrounding a black shield containing a dead white weirwood tree. Their words are not known. They have a fierce and historical rivalry with House Bracken. Known Blackwoods throughout A Song of Ice and Fire include Lord Titus Blackwood, his eldest son and his heir Brynden Blackwood, his second son Lucas Blackwood, his third son Hoster Blackwood, his fourth son Edmund Blackwood, his fifth son Alan Blackwood, his only daughter Bethany Blackwood, and his sixth son Robert Blackwood. Titus is also noted to have two brothers, a sister, two aunts, and various nieces, nephews, and cousins. So a numerous bunch, and quite a few of them that are named as well. Alyssa Blackwood, in other notes, was the fourth wife of Lord Walder Frey. The Blackwoods trace their descent from the first men. Family traditions state that they ruled most of the Wolfswood before being driven from the north by the Starks, the Kings of Winter. Their rivalry with the Brackens, their neighbours in the Riverlands, dates back to the Age of Heroes. Both houses ruled as kings. True History, a book inside the story itself, states that their rivalry dates back to at least 1,000 years before the coming of the Andals. When the Andals came, the two houses even allied against them for a time, but they were defeated in the Battle of Bitter River, and continued on their own rivalry. There is a lot of history on the Blackwoods, which I will not dig into here. Of course, this is a series to help people wrap their heads around the current events of A Song of Ice and Fire. You can find out the rest about the history of the Blackwoods on the Wikipedia, or check out the brilliant World of Ice and Fire book. We first meet the Blackwoods in A Game of Thrones after Sir Jaime Lannister defeats the Riverlords and captures Sir Edmund Tully. Lord Titus Blackwood leads the survivors back to River Run. The duty to defending the castle under siege falls to him, as the Lord Hoster Tully has fallen ill and his heir Edmund has of course been captured. With Lord Titus absent from his own home, Raventry Hall falls to the Lannisters. Lord Titus is named among the nobles that King Joffrey insists swear him fealty or be damned traitors. When Robb Stark attacks the camps outside River Run, Lord Titus leads his own sortie, attacks his enemy's rear, and frees his Lord Edmund. Lady Catelyn sees Lord Titus praying in the Godswood following the battle alongside Robb. It's important to note that the Blackwoods still do worship the old gods. At the War Council, Titus urges to continue fighting the Lannisters and march against Lord Tywin at Harrenhal. He joins the other lords in declaring Robb king in the north. In a clash of kings during the War of the Five Kings, Titus sweeps the Lannister forces from his lands, but the invaders have left the Blackwood Vale a scorched desert. Lucas Blackwood, his second son, is one of the highborn companions of Lady Catelyn when she travels south to meet Renly Baratheon. In A Storm of Swords, Sir Garth Greenfield, the head of House Greenfield from the Westerlands, is held captive at Raventry Hall. Lord Titus in River Run is one of the 7 nobles who launched the funeral boat of Lord Hoster Tully. At the Red Wedding, Lucas Blackwood is cut down by Sir Hostine Frey. The Brackens, their rivals, bend the knee to the Iron Throne and then attack the Blackwoods. The Blackwoods, along with Sir Brynden Tully the Blackfish and Jason Mallister, refuse to yield. Lord Jonas Bracken besieges Raventry Hall. According to the elder brother in A Feast for Crows, dead soldiers bearing the colours of House Blackwood have washed up on the quiet isle. They are buried next to their Bracken enemies. When we come to A Dance with Dragons, after the surrender of Riverrun, Raventree Hall becomes the last loyalist Stark stronghold. Jaime Lannister successfully negotiates the surrender of Raventree Hall with Lord Titus and takes his son Hoster as a hostage for leverage, so Lord Titus doesn't do anything stupid. Lord Jonas Bracken desires to gain the east bank of the Widow's Wash from Crossbow Ridge to Rutting Meadow. Grindcorn Mill, Lord's Mill, Muddy Hall, the Ravishment, Battle Valley, Old Forge, Buckle, Black Buckle, Carnes, Claypool, Mudgrave, Waspwood, Lorganswood, Greenhill, the Teats, and Honeytree, all in the Blackwood lands. Titus only agrees to transfer a select few, so Jonas gains, I think, about 4 or 5 of those. And that is pretty much all we have of House Blackwood so far. I'm pretty sure we'll see them in the Winds of Winter. I hope we do. I think they're an interesting house. I like them a lot, and I like the rivalry with House Bracken. Taste of glory are the words of House Fossoway of Cider Hall, otherwise known as the Red Apple Fossoways. Their sigil is a red apple with a green leaf on an orange field. Their castle of Cider Hall is located at the fork of the Mander and the Cockleswent. Their nickname, the Red Apple Fossoways, is to differentiate themselves from the other branch of the house, the Green Apple Fossoways of New Barrel. Throughout Song of Ice and Fire there are a few known members of the house. Sir Tanton Fossoway, Sir Brian Fossoway, Sir Edward Fossoway, Sir Franklin Flowers, and the Bastard of Cider Hall, a sellsword with the Golden Company. Lynette Fossoway is the wife of Sir Gylan Tyrell. Although, actually, it's not explicitly stated whether she is from the Red Apples or the Green Apples, but I thought it was worth mentioning. In history, during Dance of Dragons, House Fossoway supported the Greens. Owen Fossoway, Lord of Cider Hall, was a member of the Caltrops, a group of conspirators that wanted the dragon seeds of the White and Hugh Hardhammer dead. Owen was killed at the Second Battle of Tumbleton. In the Hedge Knight novella, Sir Duncan de Tall spots their banners at the Ashford tourney. Sir Stephen and his cousin Raymond are both in attendance. Stephen promises to join Dunk's side in the Trial of Seven, but reveals his intention to join the royal side, all for the want of becoming Lord of Cider Hall. Raymond instead supports Dunk, and to represent himself on the field, the newly knighted Sir Raymond repaints the red apple on his shield green, and founds the line of the Green Apple Fossoways of New Barrel. Our introductions to the Red Apples comes in a Clash of Kings. The banners of the Red Apple are spotted beneath the walls of Bitterbridge. They support King Renly Baratheon. During the feast within which Lady Catelyn attends, Sir Tanton Fossoway climbs on a table and swears to slay Sandor Clegane, aka the Hound, in single combat. A bold promise, a promise that never happens, of course, and a promise that probably was doomed to fail anyway. Both branches of House Fossoway turn to Stannis after Renly's death. Sir Courtenay Penrose acknowledges Sir John of the Green Apples and Sir Brian of the Red Apple Fossoways during his parley with Stannis. During Stannis' siege of Storm's End, Sir Courtenay's lieutenant, Lord Elwood Meadows, a green boy of 20 and a cousin to the Fossoways, immediately surrenders the castle after Penrose's mysterious death. The Red Apple of Cider Hall is spotted in the vanguard of Stannis' army as it approaches King's Landing. During the Battle of Blackwater, Lothar Brune cuts his way through 100 Fossoway men-at-arms to capture Sir John of the Green Bunch and slay both Sir Brian and Sir Edward of the Red Apple Fossoways. He earns the name Lothar Appelita. That's the last we see or hear of any specific Fossoways of Cider Hall. As a side note, in A Feast for Crows, Brienne of Tarth spots the Red Apple badge among those that have been collected from the dead after the Battle of Duskendale. The sigil of House Harlaw of the island of Harlaw is a white scythe on a field of black. They are one of the most powerful houses from the Iron Islands, ruling over their entire island from their castle of 10 towers. All the other houses on the Isle of Harlaw pledge fealty to them, including houses Volmark, Stonetree, Mire and Kenning. There are several cadet branches of Harlaws, and they are located at Grey Garden, Harlaw Hall, Harrodon Hill, and the Tower of Glimmering. Known Harlaws during the time span of A Song of Ice and Fire include Lord Roderick Harlaw. He's the Lord of the Island and Ten Towers, and is the captain of the Sea Song. He's called the Reader and has a passion for books, much like myself. Lady Gwyneth, his elder sister, and Lady Alanis, who is married to Lord Balon Greyjoy. More distant relatives include Sir Harris Harlaw, his cousin and his designated heir, Fossoway Harlaw of the Tower of Glimmering, Bormund Harlaw, Master of Harrodon Hill, Sigrid Harlaw, Master of Harlaw Hall, and there are a few other unknown relations called Earl Harlaw, Gavin Harlaw, and Dick Harlaw. In history, the Harlaws were rock and salt kings of their own island. The Myers and Kennings had been bitter foes of theirs in the past, but were eventually subdued. The young Eric Harlaw V, High King of the Iron Islands, recovered Fair Isle in the Westerlands for the Ironborn, but eventually lost it once he grew old. His son, Harren Harlaw, slew King Gareth Gardner II at Old Town. Their original keep was Harlaw Hall until Lord Theomore, the grandfather of the current Lord Roderick, constructed 10 towers. He had lost 3 newborn sons to the dampness and the general unhealthiness of Harlaw Hall, and decided to build a better located dwelling. He was a known man of frequent indecision and ended up building 10 towers, which eventually came together, connected by walkways and bridges, to be known as 10 Towers, of course. And when we come to A Song of Ice and Fire, our intro to House Harlaw comes in Book 2, A Clash of Kings. Longships with the silver scythe of the Harlaws are seen by Theon Greyjoy at Lord's Port after Balon Greyjoy, his father, calls the banners. Excuse me. When entering his father's hall, Theon sees some of the Harlaws. Gavin and Dick and at least 2 other Harlaws join Theon on the raid to the north and the capturing of Winterfell. They are most likely slain by Bolton in the sack of Winterfell. In the Feast for Crows, Book 4, Lady Alanis Harlaw, the sister of Lord Roderick, dwells on the island with her brother and their other sister, Lady Gwyneth. After her husband, Lord Balon's death, and Euron Crowseye's seizure of the Sea Stone Chair, Lord Roderick summons the Lords of the Iron Islands to 10 Towers on behalf of his niece, Asha Greyjoy. Otho Harlaw brings Archmaester Marwyn's The Book of Lost Books from Old Town, trying to gain his favour, Lord Roderick, the Reader's favour, since he had hoped to marry his daughter to Lord Roderick. Roderick offers to make Asha the heir of 10 Towers, though Sir Harris would still become head of the house, but she rejects his offer, choosing to seek her father's driftwood crown. Later, when speaking before the King's Moot, Victorian Greyjoy says that Hotho, not Harris, will be Roderick's heir. Lord Harlaw's sea song is seen on the shores of Old Wick, and Aeron Damphair spots the wild scythe among the gathered banners. The white scythe among the gathered banners at the King's Moot. Lord Roderick gives Asha Greyjoy his full support during the King's Moot. His designated heir, Sir Harris, also supports her as one of her 3 champions, although it is unknown whether he does it for convictions or to please his father. Or, this is not his father, sorry, or just to please Lord Roderick. Hotho offers his daughter to Victorian to support him, but he is one of the first to shout Euron's name after Euron reveals his plans. Lord Roderick, Sir Harris and Hotho are part of the invasion of the Shield Islands commanded by King Euron. Hotho reports how Harris planted his standard beneath the Grim Castle and defied them to single combat. After 7 champions had been defeated, Lord Grim Septon had decided the gods had spoken and surrenders Grimston. Victorian sees Lord Roderick, Gorald Goodbrother and Dunstan Drum talking at the yard of Oakenshield. The 3 are sharing their fear of a Tyrell reprisal. Sir Harris is named Lord of Greyshield by Euron, a move that Victorian interprets as a way to gain his loyalty at Lord Roderick's cost. They also make Hotho the new heir of 10 Towers. Victorian remembers Sir Harris as being a friend of Roderick Greyjoy, Balon's eldest son and Theon's eldest brother. Victarion remarks that he had defeated Harris in his youth, but he wonders how his axe would now fare against Harris and his Valerian steel blade, Nightfall. So the Harlaws have a Valerian steel blade. That's pretty impressive. That is the last we hear of any Harlaw. I enjoy reading about them. They are one of the more interesting houses in Iron Islands, considering they're a numerous bunch. And as we wrap up on House Harlaw, we wrap up on this episode of Where in the World. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it, at least some of what I said, helpful in your quest to gain as much knowledge of this world as possible. Remember to find me on Twitter, @GoWesteros. Drop me a comment, a tweet, some advice, criticism, or just say hello. I'm Jack, your host, and I'll see you all very, very, very soon.